Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2008 horror film Train. Now, Train is a film that, when it came out, it pretty much was relatively forgotten, pretty much left at the station, and not a lot of people really said a lot about it. And it's one of those movies that's pretty much just been stuck on direct to video shelves, collecting dust over the years, or buried within a playlist of a bunch of other free to watch horror films on Tubi. And after watching the film, I can kind of see why it's been forgotten about. But on the other hand, I actually think there's some pretty good things about this movie. So it's one of those movies where I think it's a little bit better than its reputation might suggest, but I wouldn't necessarily call this a gem, though. But I do think that this is not entirely as terrible as some people have made it out to be. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on it, though, I would like to give another shout out to Steven for requesting another review. Train is directed by Gideon Raff. And prior to this, I think he directed like one other film. And the direction for Train is one of the elements of this movie that is actually quite good. I thought he did a really good job directing this. He injected it with a lot of style, a lot of flair. The shots that were trying to be a little bit more atmospheric, he did a good job providing them with atmosphere. He also utilized camera angles in a way that didn't just seem like it's just a bunch of randomness. And there's some really great, technically impressive shots in this. There's some tracking shots in this that were actually quite tremendous to me, especially for a pretty lesser known, low budget horror film from the 2000s. Like I thought that the direction in this was actually really good. And it's a big part of why I think the film is at the very least an all right, adequate horror film because of how well the director helmed it. It's not a train wreck by any means, and it easily could have been from a directorial standpoint, but it's not. I think he did a really good job, and I don't think he gets enough credit for it, to be perfectly honest. Now, Gideon also wrote the film, and originally the script for this was intended to be a remake of Terror Train, and you can definitely see that. But the studio and the producers, I guess they decided to go in a different route and make this a standalone film. And I think that honestly was for the better, because it being a remake of Terror Train, that, that would have made me knock it down a little bit, because this would not be a very good remake of Terror Train. But as its own thing, it's more tolerable. Because it is in a lot of ways like Terror Train meets Hostel. Let's just be honest. That's really what Train is. It's Terror Train meets Hostel. The concept of Train, I think, is relatively sound and definitely has potential. And I think it lives up to about half of it in the end. And that's why I think it's really just an okay screenplay. I think it could have been better, though. I like the idea of a group of college wrestlers who wind up on a murder train, and they get picked off one by one, and then you wind up with a final girl, and then she has to find a way to survive the train, and the conductor and the butcher and the crazy doctor and all the other people on the train that are out to get her. And I think when it comes to the final girl aspect of this script, Gideon nailed it. Like the way that he wrote the arc for Alex, I thought was pretty excellent. I don't know if I would say amazing, because there's a couple moments where it's kind of a slip up, but for the most part, really good. And definitely has a crowd pleasing finale and final fight between Alex and the butcher, the big burly butcher character who's going around, killing the people and torturing them and taking their limbs and their organs for organ transplants. Alex is definitely a character who more than holds her own throughout the film. The rest of the characters are fine, but not really on the same level when it comes to, Todd or Willie or Sheldon or even Claire or Coach Harris. And because Coach Harris in particular is just an unlikable jackass for most of his short runtime, but I think that was intentional. I think he was supposed to be like just a massive douchebag. The rest of the wrestlers, they kind of blend together a little bit. There's Alex's boyfriend, and then there is this other guy who's kind of a cocky a character. Then there's this other girl on the team named Claire. So I would say really the strongest characterization is definitely given to Alex, but it makes sense because she's a lead. So it's not Sheldon or Willie or Todd that are given the most. The villains, the group of crazy foreign doctors and a butcher and the conductor and these twins who I like to call the Chuckle Twins because they just constantly laugh all the time. They they don't have much depth at all, and I think that's definitely one of the weaker aspects of this script. I really don't understand and get the entirety of the backstory of these characters, and not just that, I don't really understand their entire plan or why they're doing what they're doing beyond providing transplants for people. Okay, but how is this happening? How are they providing these transplants to people? Are the people that are getting them people who can't afford it? And that's how they're able to afford these transplants to save people's lives? Okay, that has potential. That's an interesting dilemma, but it's not clear. Like you get a line here or two that's like, "Oh, we're helping people." Okay, all right, but how? How is this happening? And how is all of this something that is acceptable and is allowed to go on for so long? Like, is this one of those things where it's a bit too incredulous in terms of its plot? And this is a big part of it, like the whole murder train thing. And I'm like, all right, how many people are in on this? And then not only that, the way that the college students, the athletes, get onto the train is pretty dumb. And that's another problem with this script. Gideon, there are definitely some moments where he trips and definitely stumbles when it comes to creating a more intelligent screenplay, because there's a lot of moments where it's just really dumb. And the way that the athletes wind up on the train is one of those moments because the coach just believes some random woman he met at the station that he's never seen before. And she tells him, you need the ride to Odessa? I have a train. I can get you on a train to Odessa. It's like, why would you just trust a random woman you've never even seen before in a foreign country? That's just stupid and asking for trouble. And that's exactly what happens. That's how they wind up on the murder train. Why did it have to be that way anyway? Just have the people who were selling the tickets in on it. Like it's supposed to be this grand conspiracy anyway, with the people on the train, not only the people who work on the train, but also the passengers who are I guess in on it. So why not have the people at this train station in on it too? Like what is stopping you if you're going to make it this big conspiracy anyway? Having it be this random woman who shows up and says that she has a train that they can take to Odessa, that's just too much of a stretch to me. Like it really is, even for a dunderhead dunce of a coach. Like especially when you're in a foreign country, like you're gonna be cautious. You're gonna be extra cautious. And that's going to be one of those things. And he also needs to get his students, his athletes, to the next wrestling meet. So, of course, he's going to not want to make a mistake there. Yeah, they're running a little late because his wrestlers got drunk the night before at a party, but still, like he even said, it doesn't matter. There's people waiting for them anyway. So just wait. Wait till you can actually get a legit train and don't wind up on a murder train. But I know, okay, you got to have a movie, you got to have the plot, but that was just stupid to me. That was really dumb. And then there's this other dumb stuff too, like when Alex and the rest of the college students, the athletes, they give random people on the train their passports because they ask for them. These two creepy guys ask you for your passport and you give it to them? Like, what? And then their passports get burned later. I wonder why. You gave your passports to some incredibly untrustworthy looking individuals. Tweedledee and Tweedledum over here. But okay, she definitely made a mistake there. And that's that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the writer slipping up a little with Alex when it comes to her writing. For the most part, smart, intelligent, holds her own. That was not smart. That made her look really dumb. And it doesn't stop with Alex because a lot of the other characters are written in dumb ways too. Uh, I think it's Todd. I think he's the one that is Alex's boyfriend, if I remember correctly. No, Todd Jensen is no that's the actor who plays Coach Harris. Todd is Derek Magar. Yeah, I think it's Derek Magar's character. So Todd is a guy who he's dared by this one other guy to go run through the train wearing nothing but a jockstrap. So he does that, run to the end of the train, but then he winds up in this incredibly creepy, dangerous looking dark room with a bathtub and chains and all other kinds of stuff. And the guy doesn't leave the room immediately. Like, what a dumbass. Like, as soon as I walked in that room, I would be like, this looks like a torture room. This looks like a murder room. I am out of here. I know I did a dare, but they can't see me. So it's not like they can tell me that I didn't do the dare. So I'm out of here. No, he hangs around. he does the whole thing where he sees something move, and so he thinks that it's his friends pulling a prank on him, which I'm, oh God, you fucking idiot. Oh, what are you doing, guys? Come on, cut it out. I'm like, oh God, he's gonna die. And then he winds up getting stabbed by the butcher. Stabs him against the wall. But that also takes a while to happen because he also steps on a nail at one point and then still has an opportunity to leave the murder room and then still stays in the murder room until the fat boy butcher can come in and stab him against the wall. Now, the way that entire sequence was written was just dumb, and just stupid on top of stupid. uh Double the stupidity and aggravation with just the entire way that it was executed from beginning to end. He goes into the room, is such an idiot, he doesn't realize that this is creepy as hell and I need to get out of here. Thinks that his friends are pulling a prank on him, steps on a nail, and then the fat boy butcher somehow is able to be like a ninja and just appear out of nowhere and then attack him. I'm like, how the hell did this guy hide? How did this guy stealthily move around this room? There's nothing in the room for him to hide behind. What am I supposed to buy? That he sat still in the bathtub and then got out without making a sound and then went after the guy? The guy's like at least 300 pounds at 6 foot something. Built like a brick shit house. There's no fucking way that this guy is gonna be stealthy and going around on his tiptoes like a fucking ballerina. So that was stupid. So that entire scene was like, oh, okay, that was really dumb. And it just continues with the way that these characters act. Claire, there's one moment where she does her own investigating and goes to the conductor's office, and which it's just like a desk with a chain fence in front of it, and she finds the burnt passports and then finds some other stuff in a drawer, and then the conductor comes back, and the conductor is clearly somebody that she shouldn't be trusting at this moment, and as soon as he comes around the corner, she should literally just get up and run away, but she just stands there paralyzed like a dumbass. And then he confronts her, and then she has multiple opportunities to get away from him, but she still just stands there like her feet are glued to the ground. Then the conductor says something along the lines of, oh, and one more thing. And then he punches her in the face, and then she's on the ground dazed in a corner. The conductor is still a few feet away from her, and she's just sitting in the corner like, no, please, please, no, no, don't do it, don't do this. And I'm like, get up. I understand. Hey, my cat protested too. He had something to say. But yeah, I'm like, get up and run, bitch, run. No, she still just stays there in the corner for the conductor to slowly go up there and take a hook and then stab it under her neck. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, girl. Like, come on. Come on, Claire. And Claire winds up getting her leg cut off later. And then she gets a really rough fate because she just gets given to a bunch of corrupt military guys who then just have their way with her off camera. You're like, oh God, that is pretty fucked up. There's a lot of fucked up shit in this movie. Like the opening is just a guy getting filleted on a table, and it's all done in practical effects, and it's pretty gruesome, but it's also pretty cool because it's some really great looking practical effects. And there are quite a number of scenes that'll make you flinch. There's a scene where a guy gets his eye ripped out of his head, It's pretty intense and pretty hard to watch. There's a scene where a guy gets paralyzed when he's wide awake because the butcher cuts open his back and then punches part of his spinal cord while he's hanging from the ceiling. Like, there's definitely some scenes in this that are quite disturbing, and in some ways could give Hostel a run for its money. So I think that's definitely effective when it comes to the movie. It's got some effective moments of horror for sure, but it's also got some really dumb moments that kind of bring it down a little bit. Eventually, everyone in the wrestling team is killed off. They eventually wind up getting killed by the murder train team. Um, but not before a lot of them actually suffer. Like this one guy, he got castrated and then he was, stuck in a cage and then he got away, but then he wound up getting killed later anyway. There's this other girl, well not other girl, this other guy who hangs around, survives for a while, even though he becomes basically a human punching bag, and then he gets his head crushed by a rock later. Last survivor is Alex. And after she escapes, she gets back onto the train without any of the murder train team noticing, and then takes some gasoline, pours it all over the train, strangles the conductor with some chains, uh, lights the doctor bitch on fire, and then gets in a pretty rousing, pretty fun uh, fight with the butcher, and then stabs his ass in the stomach with an axe, and then runs him over with a train. And then she goes back to the next wrestling competition. And that's the end of Train. So, Train, to me, I think the screenplay definitely has the right idea when it comes to overall concept of it. It just isn't executed as soundly as I think it could be. The characters are likable enough, uh, but they do way too many dumb things. The villains, I mean, they definitely are a force, and they do some things that are very visceral and intense. But the way that they're written is almost comical at points, so that really doesn't help. Like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, there's a whole scene where they piss on a guy. Uh, and there's other moments where it's unintentionally funny, and I think it really has to do more with the editing and the audio choice. They use a Willem scream in one scene that is not fitting at all and just sounds like something out of a cartoon. And there's just there are just too many moments where it's a little too unfocused for me. And also the whole logistics of the murder train, the organ transplant train is just bad. Like, how is this happening and why? I get it, they're helping people with transplants. But who are these people? What led them to get this opportunity? And also you can't have stuff like an eye transplant because that's not a thing. You can't transplant eyes into people who can't see and then they can see. That's not how it works. That's not how medicine works. Eye transplants isn't really a thing. It's not, unless this is sci-fi, but it's not. It's not a sci-fi film. So how the hell did they do an eye transplant? And it's two eyes too. They put two adult eyes in a little boy's head. I think it's Todd's eyes. And I'm just like, yeah, that's bullshit. So that was definitely a problem. I don't necessarily have a problem with the idea of it, but I do have a problem with how it was executed. And, the machinations, behind all of it. It's like it had the right parts, but they weren't in the right order. So, the train eventually just stopped a few too many times. It didn't, keep going consistently enough throughout the film. The story just didn't build up nearly enough steam. So there were way too many moments where it kind of petered out and just kind of slowed down and, got stuck on the tracks. And I think if it was more on track, then I definitely feel the film would have been a lot better. And so would the screenplay. The cast, I actually like. Thora Birch in particular, I thought she did a great job. I thought she was really strong, really solid in this. I bought every part of her role. I even bought her as a wrestler. I bought her as this tough, fiery character who goes through hell but is strong enough in a believable way to come out on top. Honestly, it's one of my favorite performances of hers. If you're a fan of hers, this is definitely a must watch to me just for her performance in this. She is really good. And I thought she had some great chemistry with the rest of the cast and just a really good performance. I bought her when it comes to the emotion, when she's frustrated with her boyfriend being missing, and then when she sees him all tortured and dying, and then she gets all emotional when a friend of his has to take him out with an axe. And I definitely bought her when it comes to the moments where she decides she's had enough of this shit and takes on the murder train and puts it to a grinding halt. Like I genuinely felt that Thora was believable in that too. She was, in my opinion, terrific. She was a big part of why I liked this film, at least in just kind of a time waster way, despite all the other issues I have with it, because she was so good in it. Derek Magyar, it was fine. Same thing goes for Gideon Emery. Uh, 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 Kavan Reece as Sheldon was more of the same. Gloria Votsis, who plays Claire, I liked her. I thought she had some good scenes with Thora, and she had a good attitude, and she was sexy and hot, but also, in my opinion, seemed like somebody who was smart until she wasn't. But I don't blame the actress; she did her job well. Valentin Ganev, who played the conductor, he was okay. I didn't buy him as being menacing though. Ivan Barnev, who plays Gregor, I think Gregor is the one who is like the big beefy guy, if I remember correctly. I'm not entirely sure though, but I do know that uh, um, um, there was there was an actress who played the crazy doctor. I want to bring her up real quick. Yeah, Dr. Velislava, played by Koina Ruseva. She was great. She was definitely the type that really leaned hard into playing this very cold-hearted surgeon type character, and she was creepy. Um, Nikolai Mutavichyev plays Vasily, and Zari Burov played Croupier. They were all right, but I think it was, yeah, Ivan Barnev. No, Gregor's a different character. Gregor was like one of the other double guys. So it might one of the twins. He's one Tweedledee or he was Tweedledum in this. So it must be like Nikolai Mutavichyev or I think it's definitely him because I don't think it was Zari Barov. But yeah, the the actors who played those characters, other than the doctor lady and the conductor, they didn't really have much dialogue. So really, they were there for their vibe or their intimidation factor. And, the big burly guy, the butcher, definitely did live up to his role, in my opinion. Todd Jensen is the other person I wanted to mention who played Coach Harris because he did such a good job playing a character that got on your nerves pretty quickly. But thankfully, he was the first one to die. And I want to mention him because he was the cyborg cop in the movie Cyborg Cop with David Bradley. He was his partner that got turned into a cyborg cop. And I was like, oh my God, it's Cyborg Cop. It's like, holy shit. What are you doing coaching a wrestling team? But yeah, the cast is not bad for this kind of movie. And the cinematography by Martina Radwan, I thought it was also decent. The editing by Elaine Jakubowicz, for the most part, I thought was good. There were some moments, though, where it was a bit of a miss. The music by Michael Wandmacher, I wouldn't say it's wonderful, but it wasn't woeful either. It was more of just the kind of score you've heard in a lot of these kind of movies from back in the day. That's just very atmospheric, but really not much more than that. Not a lot about it was that memorable or that unique or interesting, but it fit. It still worked for the movie for what it is. I didn't mind this. I thought it was okay. I thought it was decent. So, I mean, if you're looking for, a different take on a Hostel kind of movie, uh, check this one out sometime. I think you might get some enjoyment out of it. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Train. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.